What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another view. This time we're taking a look at Everest. Everest is based off the 1996 tragedy that took place on Mount Everest, with Rob Hall's expedition team. So, not really knowing a whole lot about the Mount Everest tragedy of 1996, I'm just going to judge this movie based on its own merits. As a disaster movie, I think Everest is a really well-made movie with a very strong cast. So, without further ado, let's talk about the cast. This movie is bolstered with a really good cast. You have Jason Clarke, Josh Brolin, John Hawkes, Robin White, Sam Worthington, Keira Knightley, Emily Watson, and Jake Gyllenhaal. And one of the strengths of this movie is that the acting in this movie to me seems very naturalistic. These these the actors don't feel like they're playing roles. To me, it feels like they're playing the real life people. And to me, I feel like I'm getting to know who these people were through these actors. As to me, it's like the actors were mimicking the personalities of the people who were involved in the Everest incident of 1996. And I give the actors a lot of credit for paying respect to this story and giving these characters, the dignity that they deserve. And I cannot praise the cast enough. I thought everyone played their roles really well. I think the chemistry with most of everyone in the cast is very natural and it works for me. Um, and I really don't have any complaints from a performance standpoint. I think everyone did a really solid job. I thought the director of this movie, whose name is Balthazar Kramier, Kramacher, I thought he did a really good job behind the director's chair. This is a beautiful looking movie. I think the cinematography by Salvatore Tentino is very awe-inspiring, and the scenes where the expedition is climbing up Mount Everest, the landscape shots are dazzling and gorgeous, and they're straight out of a painting. They look absolutely exquisite. And to Balthazar's credit, he has a lot of cool shots where you get really good landscape shots, like really good landscape shots. And when you're watching this movie like on a big screen, it's gonna look absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. And I give Balthazar and his cinematographer all the credit in the world for making this movie as beautiful looking as it really is. Um, I think the pacing of this movie is kind of slow in a lot of areas, particularly in the first half of this movie. The movie takes kind of a long time to really start to pick up steam. I think the first hour in this movie is basically just setting up the characters and mounting the climb to Everest. But even though I think the pacing is a little bit sluggish in a lot of areas, Balthazar did do a good job at creating the atmosphere, and the actors do a good job at keeping your attention. Um, if I do have another complaint, not one performance really stands out in this movie. Like, this is an ensemble cast, so not one actor is going to outshine the other. So you're just getting really solid performances, but that's pretty much it. You're just getting solid performances where one is not outshining the other, and that doesn't really make this movie stand out to me from an acting standpoint. This movie more or less stands out more from an aesthetic standpoint because, like I said, it's beautifully shot and it's really well done. And when the chaos does start to happen, Balthazar does do a good job at creating tension. And every death that does happen in this movie, you do feel it. And I think Jason Clarke, who is essentially the lead of this movie, he plays the character of Rob Hall. And first off, I thought Jason Clarke did a really good job at anchoring this movie as Rob Hall. He gives Rob Hall a very likable presence and a very likable personality. And when Rob Hall is faced with the dire straits and he knows he's not going to make it, I think Jason Clarke did a really fantastic job at illustrating just the predicament that Rob Hall was in, and the scenes where Rob Hall is talking to his wife, who he knows he's never going to see again. They're gut wrenching, especially with the fact that his wife is expecting their first child, and Rob knows he's never going to see his wife again. I mean, that scene by itself is just really heartbreaking, and you really feel that emotional pack, that emotional punch. And yeah, Jason Clarke. I mean, even though the performance does not really stand out, it's a good performance, and I like it a lot. Josh Brolin plays the character of Beck Weathers, and Beck Weathers is pretty much one of the ones who survived the entire incident. Now, in so doing so, Beck Weathers suffered severe frostbite in which he lost both his hands and he lost his nose pretty much. And I liked Josh Brolin's performance. This is not Josh Brolin's best performance in a movie by any stretch of the imagination. I've seen Josh Brolin in much, much better movies, but in this movie, I liked him as the character Rick Beck. He did a good job at portraying the everyman. Speaking of an actor portraying the everyman, I thought John Hawkes as Doug did a good job at portraying an everyman, as a guy who wants to climb Mount Everest just to prove that the everyday man can do something extraordinary. So I liked it. Again, it's not a performance that stands out, but it's a good character trait to have, and it's a good reasoning to wanting to do something like this. Climbing Mount Everest to show that anyone can do something extraordinary. You gotta you admire something like that, and I do. Uh, well, yeah, like I said, from a casting standpoint, this movie is really, really strong. It's also with a great ensemble cast. From a production and directing standpoint, this is a beautiful looking movie, and it's got really good, intense atmosphere. The acting is very naturalistic, and everyone bounces off each other really, really well. There's a good chemistry amongst everyone in the cast. Uh, I even like the little playful rivalry that Rob Hall has with the character of Scott, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who is a rival, expeditionist himself. But it's not like a blood feud or anything like that. It's kind of playful, and the character of Scott is also suffering from some stuff himself, and of course he doesn't make it out of Everest alive, unfortunately. But yeah, all that stuff was great. So yeah, overall, I'm going to give Everest a solid 8 out of 10. I think this is a very enjoyable movie. It's not a movie that's gonna, it's not a movie that's going to leave a long lasting impact. But for what it is, I think it's very entertaining, and it does a good job, and it tells its story effectively. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Everest. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I will check you back next time for more.